Hey everybody, welcome to Around the Twist. It is episode 242 and it's March 30th, 2016 and I have a very whiny puppy. Okay, Phoebe, come on. Come on, Goober. It's gonna take forever. Ooh, made it on the third attempt. Wow! So there's Phoebe. Hi, how are you? She's like, I don't know, wheeze. My fat dog. She's not been a snuggler lately, and now I sit down to record and she suddenly becomes a snuggler. It's the way my life goes right now. It's what the twins are doing to me, it's what the dogs are doing to me. I just think I have a routine down and then everybody decides to switch it up. So, the one thing that hasn't really switched up on me is my knitting. Everything has stayed nice and consistent. There is one new thing for you guys this week, so let's get to it. First thing, an old thing. My special snowflake socks that are in my Girl Cave bag. From girlcavebags.etsy.com on the little button there on the end. These are out of the Gail's Art sock blank, her special secret sock blank, which is a 75-25 superwash merino and nylon blend in the special snowflake colorway. And I'm so close. I thought for sure I would have these done this week, and yeah, that just totally didn't happen. So first sock has been done for a while. These are my 72 stitch vanilla socks, a 1x1 rib, a heel flap, because I didn't really need to keep colors in alignment. There's no stripey to this, it's very random. Second sock, actually hang on, let me pull the needle out here. That way, there we go. Second sock, last week I had finished the gusset and started out the foot. Well, I got most of the foot done. I am roughly 15 rows away from whacking a toe onto this thing, and then I will have a finished pair of socks. Fingers crossed, these will be done next week. I don't know what it is. I've been knitting on these in the evening when hubby's been playing Dead Island. Stuff has been very intense on Dead Island, and there's been a lot of backseat zombie killing by me. A lot of, ooh, look out, over there, and he's going, honey, I know, and I'm like, but, okay. I'll just look at my sock, but the music is really intense and kind of horror movie-ish that you... Give an example, he pulled up to a compound in an area that, even though he's played this game like 4 times before and he's replaying it again, he had never explored this one area of the jungle before. So we pull up on this compound and it looks completely deserted. There's a couple zombies right at the beginning. It's like, oh, that's not bad. But then he hits this one part of the compound and the music really picks up and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. He's like, no, I've got to explore this place. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's... Okay, so for Dead Island, there's all kinds of different zombies. It's not just one kind. There's big, tough ones that are called thugs that are harder to kill. There are rams. There are your typical slow shambling zombies that they call walkers. And then there are what are called infected. And these are like the ones out of my nightmares. I prefer the slow shambling zombies because at least you can run and get away from them. The infected, they are super fast and they just sprint at you and come out of nowhere and you think, oh, I have time to turn and run, and all of a sudden they're on top of you, and they usually travel in groups. So this really intense part with the music, yeah, tons of infected everywhere, and every time he'd go out and come back, there'd be more, and it was very stressful for me. And I wasn't even playing the game, I was just sitting there. But that's where most of the foot of this has happened this week, was sitting down in the basement watching my husband kill zombies and being a backseat zombie killer. So, I would be terrible in a zombie apocalypse. I really would. I'd be one of the ones that stays behind at whatever safe location we're at and cowers and knit socks that other people bring me the yarn bag for. So, God, that's awful. That's terrible, but I know exactly what I'd be doing. It would not be going out and killing zombies. Just so you know, don't count on me. Yeah. So, I'm working on these, and then the other day I was like, wow, I only have one thing on the needles? Really? That's all I have? So, I looked through my queue on Ravelry. Actually, I looked through my library on Ravelry, because I wanted something that I already had the pattern for and already had yarn for in the stash, because you guys have seen I've got a pretty extensive stash, and I'm just, right now I'm not feeling the county sweater. I just didn't feel like picking it up. So I went pattern diving, I guess, through my Ravelry library. And someone, I can't remember who or when, gifted me the Beck Sweater pattern. And this is the pattern Beck, B-E-C-K, by Danny Sunshine is the pattern writer's name. And so I went looking, and one of the yarn suggestions for the pattern is some Rowan felted tweed DK, which, gee, I happen to have from when I thought I was going to knit a tangled yoke cardigan, I think, by Uni Jang, and that turned out horribly. If you've been following the podcast for any amount of time, you know that I knit like half an inch of the ribbing, and then I was like, this looks huge. Of course I didn't. No, I did swatch that one, but still, somehow, even though my swatch was perfect, I don't even remember what size I was knitting. It was the size appropriate for me in this cardigan, but like took it off the needles and the ribbing was like 5 feet long. I'm not 5 feet around. So that kind of went by the wayside, and this lovely Rowan felted tweed has been sitting in my stash for the last few years. I got this from Personal Threads in Omaha, which is a wonderful store. If you're ever there, you should go visit. I don't even know how many balls of this I have. I had it listed in my Ravelry stash, which is unusual. I think I had either 12 or 14 balls because I think I only wanted 12, and they're like, that only leaves us with 2 balls in this die lot. Do you mind taking them? And I went, sure. So I have plenty to knit the sweater. I'm knitting the 40-inch chest circumference because they want you to knit with as little positive ease as possible, and 0 to the smallest amount of positive ease, I think, is how they described it. So I measured myself, which was interesting. My husband was looking at me going, what? And I'm like, what, are you going to help? And he's like, yeah, no, I don't know what you're doing. So rather than try to talk him through it, I just went ahead and measured myself several times with the same tape measure over and over, using the foundation garment that I normally wear. And I got 39.5, and the closest measurement to that, without being too negative, since this is a pullover sweater, was the 40-inch chest. So that's what I'm doing. The felted tweed DK, the color is 173. Thank you, Rowan, for such imaginative names. If I remember right, on the Personal Threads website, when I was looking through this, they called this duck egg blue. And it's got like these little brown and like brighter blue flecks and dark flecks, and it's really neat. Neat. Wow, what a descriptor. But it's a 50, 25, 25 merino, alpaca, and viscose. So it's got the halo from the alpaca, the strength of the viscose, which is rayon, and then the bounce of the wool. So we'll see how this goes. Like I said, I did, oh good lands, what did I do here? I made a mess. That's what I did. I did swatch. I did not wash my swatch. In fact, I swatched, I measured, and I ripped the swatch out so I could use it because I had a ball that I'd already partially used. So I've got the neck. I just swatched and cast on yesterday, so this is about 45 minutes to an hour's worth of work for me, is the neck. Knitting it up on a US 6, which is a 4.0 millimeter needle, which is what the pattern calls for. I did get gauge. I know previously from swatching for the tangled yoke cardigan that it doesn't change too much besides it when you wash it. When you wash the felted tweed DK, it kind of just puffs just slightly and the halo comes out from the alpaca. But other than that, it actually is pretty true. It just closes the gaps just a little bit, but the stitch count stays the same. So I'm feeling pretty safe. Remind me of that when this fails miserably and I end up with a circus tent. So for one day's work, this is not too bad. And I'm kind of excited. I read through the whole pattern. It seems pretty straightforward. It's a top-down, obviously, since I started with the neck. Top-down, I believe it's raglan. It's supposed to have, well here, hang on. I already have this pulled up for any questions, but let's see. the yoke has these little cables that it's kind of hard to describe, but let me see what I can get for you. I'll pull up the pattern page on Ravelry so you guys can actually see it. And then it's supposed to have a contrasting color kind of going around. I don't want to give away the secret sauce too much. And this one they did very, very subtle, so you almost can't see it. But in those garter ridges, there's supposed to be a contrasty color. I'm not going to do that because I think there's enough going on there with the texture of the little cable jumps and then the texture of the garter stitch ridges. So I'm just going to do mine all in one color, which, looking at what other people have done for their projects, and there aren't that many projects, honestly, for this particular sweater, so, and that's fine. Everyone's kind of done their own thing, but most of the people have done it with either a very similar color or haven't switched colors where it says to. So that's going to be my modification for this. This is going to live in my companion's bag from Fat Squirrel, and I need to clear some stuff out of it so it's not a hot mess every time I go to pull my needles out, because I still have some of the blue from Gabe's flax sweater in here, and that's why I was getting tangled up in. So that's my new thing on the needles. And then I have a little bit of crocheting. I did one snowflake this week for my long range Christmas box. I started out of the 99 Snowflakes book by Leisure Arts. I started my set of snowflakes number 7, this one up here. This is again by Helen Milinkovich Milton, out of my Knit Crocheting in Ecruth. Still my first ball, still working on the same one, using my 1.65 millimeter steel crochet hook. And this one's actually pretty close. Ooh, I'm just going to hold it by this because otherwise it's going to spin. Actually pretty close to what the picture calls for. So this one's not going to take a whole lot of blocking, just a little bit to help neaten it up, make the points and the little picot things a little sharper. But otherwise that one's actually pretty good. So I have one done, I have 2 to go, and I'll probably have those finished by next week, as I am wont to do lately. Yeah, I've got a whole page of more of snowflakes from Miss Helen to knit, and then maybe we'll get some from another designer. But that's it for the knitting and the crocheting. Onto pokey things. I have done a little bit of cross stitch this week, not a ton, but enough. So this is A Very Merry Christmas Town by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I'm still working on clue number 3. However, I am that close to being done. So all I have left, and I'd rather mark down what I finished this week because honestly I couldn't remember. What I have left, I have to do the gold bridle on this reindeer over here, and then the gold at the bottom of each of the reindeer's blankets. The elf's mouth needs to be back stitched on, and then I believe there's a snowflake that goes here and a snowflake that goes here. And those 2 little random green stitches up here that I forgot. And that's all I have left. So very feasibly that could get done this week. I'm hopeful. But you know, hope springs eternal, and the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So we'll see. I'm not making any promises. But I'm hopeful that I'll get clue 3 done on that, and then I can start the big banner along the bottom. And then I've done a little bit more on Once Upon a Time. I'm still working on July. It is Thumbelina. I finished the cattails this week. I finished Thumbelina herself, obviously, except for her eyes and her mouth, and then the body of the butterfly, which is, again, I look at it and I go, wow, you really didn't do a lot. But actually I did do quite a bit, since I only stitch on this up here while the kids are napping, so like now. And for Very Merry Christmas Town, this lives down in the basement for while hubby is gaming, is when I stitch on this. So the few times a week that I'm able to do this, I'm not surprised that this is taking longer. And I think I've done pretty darn good on starting to use nap time for my cross stitch. I realize my knitting is suffering for it, but oh well, it is what it is. So that's it for pokey things so far. Upcoming events, let's move on to various and sundry, get this thing going, because your guys' time is important too. For upcoming events, I've got the Interweave Yarn Fest this weekend. It actually starts tomorrow, March 31st through Sunday, April 3rd. Classes are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I believe the marketplace opens on Friday. Maybe it starts tomorrow. I know Lisa from Lisa Souza Yarns, she's going to be there, and I'm really excited to see her. I haven't bought any Lisa Souza yarn in years, and I'm kind of excited to go and pick up some kind of yarn that would be good for some sweaters for the twins from her. And I'm planning on going to the marketplace on Saturday, and then Saturday night attending the keynote talk presentation with Clara Parks. I've been reading her Knitlandia book. I'm only on like the 3rd chapter, but I'm loving it so far. Which I just went and bought the Kindle version of it and have been reading it on my phone in the 2 spare minutes that I have per day. So that's the plan. If you're in northern Colorado, please stop by if you see me walking around. Don't think I'm going to take the twins with me because Grandma and Papa are going to be here, so I think we're going to leave Papa and Daddy home with them, and I'll bring my mom with me. Come up and say hi. I'll try to dig around in the craft closet and find buttons, since I still have tons of round the twist buttons, and if I see you, please come up and say hi, and I'll maybe have buttons for you. We'll see. The other upcoming event I have planned is the Estes Park Wool Market. That is from June 9th through 12th, and that's up in Estes Park, Colorado. And I'm just planning on being there on Saturday, and it's going to be kind of a whole family thing, so if you see us there as well, come up and say hi. So I did pull a couple of questions from Any Questions. I'll get that pulled up now, but I screwed everything up that I had set up. Okay, so the first set of questions is from All That Cake Knit. And first question is, how long have you been spinning? Let's see. I started in spring of 2007. That was kind of my reward to myself. I had given up, I can't remember what I gave up for Lent. Maybe it was chocolate. And I told myself or maybe it was buying yarn that year. I gave up something for Lent. And I told myself if I made it all the way through, that was my reward, that I could buy myself a spinning wheel. So I didn't start with a spindle. I started straight away with my Lendrum double treadle. And yeah. So 2007, so 8 years. Oh gosh, it's been 8 years already? I am not a very consistent spinner though. Obviously I haven't spun in months, but yeah. What's my favorite way to ply my yarn? It really depends on what I'm aiming for. I really like a traditional multi-ply yarn. I've never done more than a 3-ply though. If I'm going for more of a self-striping or want to keep colors together, I do a Navajo ply. I'm so sorry, guys. Hang on. That's my mom and dad, I'm guessing. Hey, I'm in the middle of recording, so that's okay. Dogs, get out of the way. Oh my gosh. Okay. All hell has broken loose. And how do I find out how much yardage I have? Girls, calm down. I've got 2 things. I've got both a Nitty Naughty and a yardage counter that I got from Nancy's Knit Knacks. That's basically like a fishing line counter that you run the yarn through from when you're going from a hank to a ball. And I'll run that through a couple times just to not have the extra tension on the yarn, and hopefully have enough like not too much tension on the yarn, making the yardage wrong. Do I have any travel plans, and have I been overseas for vacation? Travel plans currently none. Have I been overseas for vacation? Yes. In high school, between my junior and senior year, I went to Europe with Iowa Ambassadors in Music, and we went through England, France, let's see, England, France, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Austria, Italy, Germany. Yeah, 7 countries, 17 days. It was a whirlwind tour. I was part of a band and choir group of 500 kids, and it was fabulous. I'd love to go back. Any sewing plans? Would you ever sew any garments like the raised skirt? And she said, put a link up to that. I do have sewing plans. I've got fabric to sew Tara a couple of little reversible jumper dresses. I got that last summer while I was in Nashville at SSK. However, the craft room is kind of in disarray and I don't have a table for my sewing machine, and I can't have it up here because babies would love it so much and rip it apart in 2 seconds. So yes, I do have sewing plans. However, I'm not seeing them happen anytime in the immediate future, like in the next week. And then down to Rye Crafty. What's your favorite place you've traveled? What places on your dream travel list? Favorite place I've traveled? Gosh, I loved Switzerland. Loved it. I think it's part of why we moved to Colorado. I just love the mountains. To me, they feel so peaceful. And what's on my dream travel list? I would love to get to Norway someday. I've never been. My family's from Norway, and I would love to go there at some point or another. So I think that's it. We're going to wrap this up since obviously my parents are here, since you heard the welcome. And I'm very, very sorry to anyone listening with headphones or the dogs. I can't control them when they think someone's attacking the house, which is always. So until next week, everybody, happy knitting.